In 2006, the Netherlands reformed their healthcare system to combine mandatory universal coverage with competing private health plans. And in 2008, an article in the journal Health Affairs suggested that this new health system could serve as a model for reform in the United States. However, an assessment of the 2006 Dutch health insurance reforms published in Duke University's Journal of Health Politics raised concerns. The analysis found that market-based competition in healthcare may not have the advantages over more publicly based single-payer models that were originally envisioned for the reforms. They quote, "The first lesson for the United States is that the new Dutch health insurance model may not control costs. To date, consumer premiums are increasing. Insurance companies report large losses on the basic policies. Second, regulated competition is unlikely to make voters and citizens happy. Public satisfaction isn't high, and perceived quality is down. If regulated competition with individual mandates performs poorly in auspicious circumstances such as the Netherlands, how will the model fare in the United States, where access, quality, and cost challenges are even greater? Might the assumptions of economic theory not apply in the healthcare sector?" Well, just a year later, another dark patch of mold grew on the lemon that is late-stage capitalism, when in April 18th, 2007, the European Commission imposed fines on Heineken International, Grolsch, and Bavaria for operating a price-fixing cartel in the Netherlands totaling 273 million euros. InBev escaped without a penalty because it provided decisive information about the cartel, which operated between 1996 and 1999 with others in the EU market. The brewers controlled 95% of the Dutch market, with Heineken claiming a half and the others 15% each. Former EU Competition Commissioner Neelie Kroes said at the time that she was very disappointed that the collusion took place at the very highest boardroom level. She added Heineken, Bavaria, and Grolsch, and InBev tried to cover their tracks by using code names and abbreviations for secret meetings to carve up the market for beer sold to supermarkets, hotels, restaurants, and cafes. And her direct quote is, "This is simply unacceptable that major beer suppliers colluded to up prices and carve up markets among themselves." Well, folks, let me tell you something that's simply acceptable. We're colluding with a returning guest to carve up the cold cans rankings with a new alternative. That's right. We're drinking Grolsch Premium Lager. No label. Should we cheers?
Oh, you're foaming up, Joe.
Oh, shit.
Your brew. Of course we... Oh, yeah. Cheers from 6 feet.
Is there decorum to cheers? Yeah, cheers.
Yeah, air cheers. Get that music taken care of here.
Yeah, put that music down. The voice you hear, returning guest on the show, Zach Jabal. Thanks for joining us once again.
You're welcome, and as will soon be revealed, I am doing this because I literally have nothing better to do.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it.
Seattle's struck with the coronavirus.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about it?
Yeah, we don't need to. You already did that on one podcast.
It's been a topic of much conversation.
Yeah.
I'm well, technically I guess this is a weird liminal period because I'm technically employed, but by the time any of you listen to this, I will be unemployed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which will be the second time I've recorded a podcast in this state in the last 2 days. So what else are you supposed to do when you don't have a job but drink? So thanks for having me on, guys. You were paying for this beer.
Yeah, no problem.
Yes, we're sorry to hear that.
Mm-hmm.
It's a bummer of what's going on with, more uncertainty on the way, I'm sure.
Yep.
I've spent the last week trying to get my family in Wisconsin to take things seriously around this, and hopefully they do.
You've also been brewing up your own solutions at home?
I've been mailing them some hand sanitizer.
USPS?
No, FedEx Air, actually.
FedEx Air,
I want to get it
bags.
there quick, yeah. It has a certain shelf life, needs to be refrigerated.
I mean, I think you could use this Grolsch bottle when it's done as something for hand sanitizer.
That's true. These are nice bottles. You got to hang on to these. You got to start lining the cabinets of your kitchen with these empty bottles.
Oh, my wife will love that aesthetic.
I know.
It's late stage college.
Yeah.
I got to say, too, about this, but I'm sure we will actually talk about this beer, but I will say that, well, I mean, theoretically, if it's not more diatribes about the mid-2000s in the EU, which I got to be honest, listeners, I came in here and Joey's like, I got a great cold open fired up, and I'm thinking like, it's going to be a discussion about what's topical in the world of everything right now.
I talked healthcare.
Yeah, you kind of talked healthcare, but I was like, okay, so now he's talking about the, maybe it's going to tie into the fact that, our inability to even implement some sort of, vaguely mandated healthcare for people that's not employer-based is going to be relevant. And
Single
instead,
payer?
no, let's talk, well, that's, one of these days. But let's talk about, apparently a price-fixing cartel.
Look,
which,
that has always been a deep part of the Cold Cans lore. To be fair, economics, oh my goodness.
Here we
the
are.
girl's just hitting me.
I was saying.
Price fixing. And large corporations, large brewing cartels in particular. We've taken a very keen interest in the life.
We've broken down corporate structure. I wanted to try to drive home the point that economic models, as they get tossed about, that something is necessary and, whatever, we can't come up with any money to pay for healthcare. It's ridiculous to even assume that we can. Things are complex. Single payer was better pre-2006 Netherlands, where they had a more single payer public option model, had a higher degree of satisfaction than post 2006, where they have a mixed model. That's all I'm saying.
Well,
could we pause? Can you just take your phone, put it in your pocket or something? I just hear some static on the.
Sure, sorry.
Yeah, no worries. Now it's gone.
We'll edit that out.
We will.
I hope so.
Well,
Scintillating content.
But so okay. What was I saying?
You were just talking about the
the
price
single
fixing
payer.
potentially, or a single payer. Okay.
And similarly, the Grolsch, which was independently owned since 1615, so this is a 400-year-old beer, and they did immediately make this beer when they found it, is now owned by Asahi Group Holdings, which was part of the SAB Miller InBev merger from 2016, I believe. So it got sucked up in all this bullshit.
Yeah.
That's it. That was my loose connection I was trying to make.
Gotcha. Well, for something that is associated in multiple ways with Heineken, it's not bad. Mm-hmm. It's significantly better than Heineken, which is, I guess, damning with faint praise. But
the first few drinks are my favorite green bottle beer that I've had. We've taken a lot of issue with green bottle beers on this podcast.
Is there a good one?
No.
Besides maybe
I've
this?
had Stella Artois on tap. I like.
Yeah, but
not
then it's
when
not
it's
in a
in
green
the
bottle.
green bottle. Yeah.
Do you have your theory about green bottles?
I think that's a
tainting
pretty
beer.
Right. I think that's a known thing, right? They don't block the UV as well, so it's the shorter shelf life, and especially with the imports, because all of them are imports that are in a green bottle.
Why do we do that then? Why is anybody
Rolling
still
Rock
using
is
it?
not an import.
Oh, right.
And it's terrible. Although I drank a lot of it in college.
Rolling Rock,
Hey, 33,
Heineken,
episode 33. Check it out.
Qingtao, green bottle,
Yeah.
Heineken, Rolling Rock, and now Grolsch. I believe those are our 4 green bottle beers. And all across the board, besides this one so far, we've said that they've been skunky, and they all kind of have the same exact flavor. Like, Heineken's a little bit better than Rolling Rock is an atrocious beer. This is good. It's refreshing. It doesn't have that skunk to it.
I will tell you this, though. Rolling Rock is not an atrocious beer when it's the only beer you can buy in Manhattan that is less than $1 a bottle when you're in college.
Ooh, yeah.
That's true.
We had 25-cent Rolling Rock nights in Madison when we were in college. You remember those?
No, where?
25 cents for a Rolling Rock. It was called Logan's by the time we were getting older.
And dollar pizzas.
Dollar cheese pizzas, yeah. That place was
extra $1 if you wanted to add pepperoni.
Yeah. Oh, my God.
You had to keep OSHA away from that place. Whoever does the regulations.
I like that your calculation as a college student was, do I want 4 beers or pepperoni?
We knew a guy in the kitchen. Zach knew a guy in the kitchen.
That's right. So we usually got the.
So you'd get pepperoni for free. Yeah, you pay the $1 cheese price.
So that's learning economics and politics right there.
The power of networking.
Yeah, there was apparently some sort of pepperoni cartel going on there.
Price fixing.
Yeah, seriously.
Madison, Wisconsin. I kind of want to read the Beer Advocate score early because I think it's sort of interesting and could play into the
Nick's
rest
got
of
a dinner date.
Well, no, I'm not pushing this train along.
Nick's got a dinner date in an empty restaurant.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
it's the happiest I've ever been. No one else is out. So Grolsch has a 72 or okay.
Yeah, that's about right.
You think that's about right? Okay.
Yeah.
I think that's
good.
On the higher end for most import beers of this style, and maybe it's because it's Dutch that there's like some assumed
quality
to it. Yeah.
Okay, so I have a question for you guys because you guys mentioned this and it's fascinating. So when I was first coming of age as a drinker, when I'm a little bit older than you guys, there was still this whole like import. I don't know. Imports were a thing, right? Like you had domestic beer, which was mostly garbage, and you had imports. And here in Seattle, there was craft beer for sure, but it wasn't, craft wasn't nearly the big deal it was. And at the time, like, yeah, it was fancy if you bought a beer from another country, right? Like Grolsch or even Heineken, right? Like a lot of their cachet was just they weren't made here. And the assumption was at the time that American beer, and not totally inaccurately, was mostly the same and mostly garbage. And as it turns out, most import beer was also garbage because what people would put on a container ship and ship over here was whatever they could sell a lot of, and it was garbage. But
it's also owned by the same company generally.
Especially again, at that point in the late '90s, early 2000s, that wasn't quite as true.
Sure,
I think there were certainly some of these multinational beverage companies were forming, but they were not the globe-spanning behemoths that they've become. And so, it's funny because I just, hearing Nick say like imports, I was like, oh man, that is like, that term is still appropriate, but I feel like it's not I guess beer drinkers mostly, I feel like beers like this have kind of almost like they've fallen out of favor, right? Like no one, they still must sell obviously, but like, I guess it's just like nowadays, if you are interested in quality beer, you are probably much more inclined to look at a craft beer from nearby, or even just craft beer from other parts of the country, or a craft beer from even another country. But you would not look at something. I mean, I don't know how much they make, of Grolsch a year, but a lot, presumably.
Yeah.
And so, this is like a weird part of the beer world that here in the U.S. is like almost like I'm kind of surprised you were able to find it.
So back during that time you were talking about, were things like these more expensive than the American counterpart of the like adjunct lagers?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, you would pay, you'd pay. I mean, again, this is just a rough recollection, but if you were paying, let's say you're paying, $12. Again, we'll go back to my New York City days. If you'd pay, about $10 or $11 for a 12-pack of Rolling Rock, you would pay, probably 16 or 17 for a 12-pack of Heineken.
Yeah.
Which, even though they basically taste the same.
I was going to say, because that's not true anymore, really. All of those things cost the same at this point. Like Heineken costs the same as Miller Lite, I think. Well, roughly the same.
It's because now one conglomerate owns
it all.
The distribution across both.
But it's also, I think, that the cachet is gone from those beers. They're not
true.
For someone who would consider themselves a discerning consumer, I don't think many of them would be like, oh, yes, get me a Heineken. I mean, nowadays, if someone's like, you want a Heineken, I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about?
It has no market. I'm with you. This is my take. I think I've said this on the podcast before, but it's my Applebee's take, which is I am certainly in the mood for good food, and in which case I go to a restaurant that's good in the city, right? And I'm certainly still in the mood sometimes for McDonald's, in which case it's the lowest price point, it's fast food, I want garbage.
I mean, it does show.
Yeah, well, of course. But
wow. Again, audio medium. We don't need to.
When would I ever be in the mood for Applebee's? If I want fast food, if I want garbage, I'll pick the low price point. I'll go to McDonald's, I'll enjoy myself. And if I want food at a similar price point to Applebee's, maybe slightly higher, but a sit-down meal where I'm bringing, friends or family, I'm going to go to a restaurant I like. There's no market. That's the Heineken here. Like, when would I pick up Heineken? I'll pick up Bud Light when I want to drink a bunch of cheap garbage, and I'll pick up something good, Delirium Tremens, like you brought on the show last time, when I want something good. When the fuck am I buying Grolsch? I'm scrolling right past this. I'm with you.
I think with the restaurant analogy, we're probably a bit spoiled being in a city where there are a lot of great restaurants.
Fair.
Because in some places, Applebee's probably is one of the nicer restaurants.
Like, say, wherever they're airdropping your hand sanitizer in Wisconsin?
Perhaps, yes. Yeah, I think, but I get what your point is.
You're certain market segments, which is why you probably don't see a lot of fucking Applebee's and Chili's and stuff
out here, right?
No, you don't, and you don't. You got to leave. I think you have to probably leave Seattle proper. And there are other reasons for that, like a $15 an hour minimum wage that makes things like Applebee's pricing structure not viable in the city. But there are definitely other parts of the country where that's true, and so that means there are probably parts of the country where you still sell Heineken, where it still has that cachet.
There's no craft beers in certain parts of the country.
Yeah, or there are not as many. But even then, I have to wonder. I mean, this would be a good question for, I guess, Cold Cans Nation. Are there listeners of you out there where Heineken or similar beers are still have a cachet? I mean, do people still give a shit about Amstel Light or whatever? Maybe. I don't know.
I don't know either. I certainly was never, when I lived in that part of the world, I was so young that I was getting the cheapest thing, period. I wasn't getting craft beers or this. As I've matured, would I seek out good beer and find this? This is, when I mature.
Very incremental.
As you've aged.
Yeah. Now, I think you could have stopped your question at, are there listeners out there in Cold Cans Nation? Also, you could have ended it there.
No, we got
everyone
mailbag
is-
stuff, right?
Do we
We're
have mailbag?
fans?
Oh.
Everyone is
mailbag?
quarantined, man. No one's got anything else to do but listen to this
That's
garbage.
true. That's why we got to keep pumping this out.
no,
We got to
I'm so
lock
sorry,
ourselves in
everyone.
this studio and just do cold cans. It came to mind when Jabal asked where you got this because this
Also,
this
what
wasn't
is
easy to
going
find.
on? Why
right?
am I last name referenced here? I'm not calling you Patri and Glock.
That would be
I don't
cool,
know.
though.
Jabal's a cool last name.
I guess
I think
actually Patri and Glock sounds kind of like a TNT show that got canceled after 8 episodes.
Yeah. Which one of
Like
us
Rizzoli
is
and
the...
Isles, but like the
Glock?
worst spinoff.
Yeah.
So are you
Glock's-
like, which one's the straight man
I
and
was
which
gonna
one's
say-
the comedic relief?
Glock might be better as the comedic relief just because the
Sure.
name would imply something else. Unless we're
Sure.
really hammering it home, then you could be Glock and like carry a Glock on you at all times, and you're like the hard ass.
And you're brooding, and that also kind of applies to our life as well. You're kind of
Kinda,
this
yeah.
sexy, brooding
Right.
figure that's stoic,
Who solves all the crimes?
American man's man who solves the crimes, and I'm a buffoon. Yeah, I kind of like Glock. If anybody is out there in Cold Cans Nation, if anyone's listening at all,
and is a
write
producer in
pilot.
Hollywood.
yeah, please write a
Also,
pilot.
hire us, please.
Shop this script
Also, I'm going to be
around.
very clear about this. It has to be Patri and Glock. It cannot be Glock and Patri. That sounds
Agreed.
awful.
Yeah, Patreon
Agreed.
Glock. You're right. You and because Glock's such a punctuation
Yeah,
in the
exactly.
last name. Glock. Yeah, it's
Mm-hmm.
my dad's name's Randall Mark Glock. It's like Mark is the middle name. It doesn't work.
Too hard
Yeah,
K's.
What were we talking about? I had something.
I don't know. He just said Jabal, and it bothered me.
I'm sorry.
I have a name.
I can go
It's
back to Zach.
Does it
Jabal's
make
a
you-
cool last name,
Thank you.
though.
Does it make you uncomfortable because it's your brother's name? You
I
feel
was
like
gonna say. I guarantee
Maybe.
that's exactly
yeah,
what I was
maybe.
gonna say.
Maybe.
And there's
I
other.
just talked with Zach earlier tonight, actually.
I brought up Zach Ben-Hamidi when I talked about the guy
Oh,
who knew
yeah.
a guy in a kitchen. Zach, we have a mailbag, I believe, from the other Zach that's part of the show. Your brother Zach. There's too many Zachs.
Oh,
so
it is.
Jabal came
okay?
in.
I'll be Jabal. That's fine.
All right.
Too many Zachs. That's
That was a-
that's
that was
a
a different show.
TBS show.
I believe that comes on before Patri and Glock.
Oh yeah, and reruns at 11:30. Yeah, we had a mailbag. Somebody was asking us to do a beer. Do you remember that?
Oh, fuck yeah. Let me find it.
And it brings me back to where you got this beer because you've discovered a treasure trove of sorts.
I have. Well, I've discovered Total Wine.
Yeah.
And when everyone else was stocking up on toilet paper and hand sanitizer, I was stocking up on Total Wine. And they have I knew they would have a lot of beer, obviously, but I didn't know they had such a huge import section of beer. And so I just
I guess
stocked up on.
that's because they're part of the cartel. That's
Yeah,
where
the
all that
price
shit
fixing.
gets offloaded.
Yeah, I'm sure Total
I'm
Wine.
actually not really joking.
I'm
Yeah,
sure
it's
Total Wine
probably-
has traces up to InBev in some
Well,
way.
they definitely have like mass contracts, right? Like all that's. I mean, you look
Yeah.
at what they carry, and
Yeah.
every Total Wine store has like 85% of the same inventory and 15% that's like calibrated to their local market.
Right.
I mean, those aren't exact percentages, but they're rough estimates.
Sure.
So this was the mailbag I was referring to. This is from March 5th. Michael Lauer tweeted, "Hey guys, can you please review Old Style? You've done every other old school American adjunct lager, grain belt, PBR, ham, Schlitz. Cap it off with a classic brewed in God's country. # Cold Cans Nation."
Yeah, I remember that tweet. It was shocking because we don't know that guy. That means we have listeners that aren't our 15 friends.
It's true.
Yeah, he
and
kind of
thank
went.
you. Yeah, thank you.
I found that he went in. I think it's the best all-around, crushable, flavorful, not too sweet
he went
/
on.
corny,
Nice.
hoppy but not bitter, good carbonation. I think you might find it in Wisconsin and so on. And it has a neat
Oh, okay.
history
So when someone says brewed in God's country, what the fuck are they talking about?
wherever they're from.
I guess.
if
right?
you're in the Midwest, it's
Not
wherever you're
here.
from.
I'm from here, and no one calls this God's country.
No, it's very
this
clearly
is
not.
godless country.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he said it was invented by, or LaCroix was invented by the person who makes Old Style, an attempt to diversify their business.
Well, maybe we should fact check.
Uncomfortable
Random
ro-
Twitter accounts? Why not? But I mean, this person, whoever, if they presumably invented LaCroix, they really missed out because if they just put some booze in there, now
Man.
they'd be sitting pretty.
Yes, they
They
would.
have to be hot on the tail of the seltzer fad.
I guess they're probably already sitting pretty because there's a shitload of LaCroix that gets sold, so whatever. They're doing okay.
Sure,
Right,
but
yeah,
why not
they might-
innovate into hard LaCroix?
Or just
Hard
yeah,
LaCroix.
like cross, like you don't have to make it yourself, sort of thing, but like give your brand to someone who can already make hard
Yeah.
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah, a cross brand.
Right.
Wow.
Cross brand.
You pointed out.
Well, I
was-
can't believe you guys aren't, bigger stars.
The ultimate cross brand is the Catholic Church, if you ask me.
Wow.
That's good.
Thank
That's
you.
good.
Thank
you
you.
boys clearly do come from God's country.
Sorry, what were you going to say?
You you pointed me to a VinePair article. Check out vinepair.com.
Oh, yes. Yes, my sole employer at this point.
VinePair.com.
You pointed an article about a seltzer that Leinenkugel's
Yeah,
made in
that's
God's
right.
country.
This is all tying together. It's so it's not quite a seltzer, but they're shandies. It's very convoluted to me what it is exactly, because they say it's beer mixed with seltzer in some way, which a shandy like sort of is that already, like the shandies they're making.
Yeah, that's gonna immediately make me sick.
You think so?
One of those. Oh yeah.
It's lower calories than a White Claw. That's how they're coming into the market. It's lower calorie and lower ABV.
Alcohol, yeah.
That's how. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
All the time they spent thinking about whether they could. They spend any.
Well, they were losing all their
should.
market share on the shandy. They had to do something.
Yeah, that's true. Summer shandy. Yeah, White Claw has to be eating
Totally.
into that.
Totally.
Wow.
The guy, I don't know if it's Jake or John Leinenkugel, when they announced
I'm
that he.
Jake. I'm John. And we're the Leinenkugels.
Hell yeah. And this is all in the article, by the way, on VinePair.com.
This is another good way to grow your audience. Very inside Wisconsin content.
Oh, that's our
But
base.
he said
we know to
that
play
they
to our
had to
base.
replace the lost stuff from hard seltzer. And
Oh,
that
they
was
came out and said
They
it.
said that in
Oh,
the
wow.
press release.
By the way, did it come up on the last podcast that I have been to the Leinenkugel's brewery in Chippewa Falls?
I don't think so.
Oh, tell more.
That's right.
Yeah, so my wife will come up shortly, and came up last time, is from Wisconsin, like you gentlemen.
Yeah.
And
Thank you for
on
reserving yourself.
on a trip back there, we definitely went to the brewery, which was it's very breweries are. I've been to a lot of them professionally.
Mm-hmm.
They're not inherently very interesting places to visit because, frankly, watching beer being made is not actually very interesting. So the only part of it that's interesting is the tasting portion.
Yep.
But we tasted some beer and looked at a lot of historic documentation, and then a lot of really weird merchandise. Basically, anything you could put the Leinenkugel's name or logo on, you could find in their retail store. But yeah, it was cool. I mean, it was something to do.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, if you're visiting Central Wisconsin,
Yeah.
finding things to
Come
do is
on.
important.
No, you're right. I actually have never been there, funny
Oh.
enough.
I haven't
We
either,
grew
and
up like 2 hours from there.
I completely agree with the take that brewery tours suck.
Yeah, they're
They
kind of just
always
large
suck.
gift shops.
Yes.
Like at the end of the day, they're just trying to move
And they're
some
not
merch.
interesting. They're not at all interesting.
No, and this is my thing since I'm a little bit more of a wine guy professionally. Well, was whatever. Then
Joey's the wine guy on this podcast.
yeah. But having like the winery tour is also pretty much worthless. You want
Sure.
to especially if it's not the vineyard tour can be kind of interesting, but frankly, once you have seen one set of tanks and barrels, you've seen every last winery that exists on this planet and never go again. Like I get stuck going on them again because of professional obligation. And so whenever I get the opportunity to skip that part of the tour and they're like, "Do you want to see the winery?" I'm like, "No." I'm good. You don't do anything. I mean, everyone does the same shit because in the end, there are only a few ways to make wine, and and there are only a few ways to make beer. So, it is definitely not as exciting as it seems.
But the difference with the winery tour is it's typically a wine vineyard grows in a pleasant place. And so when you do your winery tour, you kind of eat your vegetables because the guy's got to show you the big fucking tank, and then you're okay. And then you kind of spit out and you're having wine, usually kind of outside, and that's lovely. A brewery tour, you're just in a warehouse the whole time.
Right.
Yeah.
Looking at the whole thing is the guy saying, "Look at this big ass tank. Look at how fucking big it is."
Yeah, and they're like, "This tank is different from other tanks in some way that no one understands."
Yeah. The beer at some point comes into this tank. At some other point, it's right out of it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Now these tanks, they're from Germany.
Yeah.
That's always part of it.
If somebody goes, "Oh, what part?" I've been there once on vacation. Yeah.
Yeah. Are these Bavarian tanks, or are they more from like Berlin?
I have been. The one cool brewery tour I did was the
God, you're such a fucking
New
uncle.
Belgium brewery in Fort Collins, Colorado.
Oh yeah, you did. Well, you just liked Fort Collins, I think.
I think it's a cool,
you're shying
it's an
for Fort-
overall thing, and it's like a employee-owned brewery or something in some way.
Look, I like breweries. I like they exist. Working in one would be cool. I just don't want to tour it. It's kind of there's a bunch of activities.
I'm with you on the overall concept. I'm just saying that's the one like memorable one that I've ever been to.
But I'll still fool myself into thinking I want to. This, like blackjack and hiking are three things that every couple of years I'll be like, I should do that. That'll be fun. And then I'm doing it. And I go, this fucking sucks. I've always hated doing this.
Why do I like blackjack? I thought that was like your game of choice in Vegas.
If I'm in Vegas, I play blackjack. Yeah.
Well,
but
right.
I get excited. That's what I'm saying. It's one where I go, blackjack, that'll be cool. I'll sit down, I'll get the free drinks, and in like 10 minutes, I'm like, I do not want to keep doing this.
Is that because you've lost $500?
I was going to say, if you're winning, you do want
As
to.
a degenerative gambler.
The key, Joey, is to not hit on 20.
Oh, see, nobody ever explained
Yeah.
strategy.
His wife wishes he would stop hitting on 20 as well. Got him.
But I don't
We
totally
got him
understand that joke.
Well, it's a reach. I'm
20
sorry.
years old.
Right.
Got it.
People, yeah.
That's fun. We're having fun.
We
now.
are having fun.
Is this the sole extent of our beer though? Because I did bring a
Yeah.
parable, so you probably
Let's
should
do it, yeah.
slow down.
No,
a
you're
little
right.
bit.
down.
You're right, yeah. Joey and I are both well further into our beers
Yeah,
than
the interesting thing about this bottle, for those who
Mr.
haven't seen it, is it
Jabal.
has like, it's got like it's got sort of your
does.
markers on here. and
Yeah.
it doesn't explain kind of what it means, but I do think that like you guys are on like below the last rung, which makes me worried about how much longer we can keep this podcast going.
It's true.
So as I mentioned, my wife is from Wisconsin, and she
Hell yeah.
unfortunately is a little bit of a fan of this show, which is really the only reason I got
Aw.
permission to come out here and do this.
Oh, wow.
Shut
on
up.
a
Thanks for
Friday
listening.
evening.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Zach's wife.
Caitlin is her name.
Caitlin,
Or you can also
thank
just
you.
call her Jabal. I mean, same last name.
No, she gets Caitlin.
She wouldn't like
Yeah,
that.
of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, there aren't other Caitlins
I
on the show.
respect her enough.
Shout
to
out
do
to
that.
Caitlin.
So she made some pretzel bites.
oh,
being
wow.
homemade.
of
Nice.
Wisconsin descent. We also have some Pine River sharp cheddar cheese spread.
Yeah, that's Supper
Hell
Club
yeah.
cheese spread. You bet your ass.
And I brought some mustard because I
Wow.
like mustard with my pretzels, not
Nice. I like both.
not cheese in a tub, but yeah, cold packed cheese food. I've noticed this when we buy things from Wisconsin. Some of them are described as cheese food, which I find worrying because if there are other things that and are there other nouns that come after cheese in
No,
like,
cheese food is the noun.
Cheese
Like,
product.
it's a
cheese product is another one I've seen.
now at least this says food.
Yes.
Cheese product, like, is that
Yeah,
like
it could be used for
do they use
anything.
it for
It's
installation.
the
or
Taco
something?
Bell, the Taco Bell beefy noun, where
yes.
beefy is the noun. Yeah. Like a beefy 5-layer burrito. What you're eating in there is beefy.
And so to be extra conscientious about things in these health scare times.
Trying.
We have
times.
lots of I have lots of
Dishing
plastic
it up.
forks.
Thank
and,
you.
I'm gonna try these.
you
I'll
have to
fill
help
bites.
yourselves,
That's a trying
but
time.
I'll fill time while we're dishing this up because speaking of trying times in Seattle, I went to a lovely coffee shop and dessert place called Hood Famous in Seattle. It's very fucking good. And I was standing in line because there's almost always a line.
International District.
Down in the
or
ID.
Chinatown, yeah.
We also went to Momo-san. Momo-san. And it was also very good today. Anyway, I'm standing in line and a guy behind me is talking with his friend. And he was like, how funny would it be if I just like started hacking and coughing in line? And his friend's like, dude, yeah.
Give
And
us
I'm
a
like,
picture of who these guys are. How old are they?
I only gave one, our age. I look back, it's two bros. And he does it. He starts doing this bit where he's hacking. And of course, people around are like, oh, God. I don't want to be around this lunatic. And they're laughing to themselves. What is going through people? That's not a bit. It's not a prank.
No. When there are lives on the line. Yeah.
Also-
Okay,
Hilarious.
so can I make can this be a rant for a moment?
Yeah.
Do it.
Since you guys
Zach's
since you
rants.
raised this. So this was something that I have felt for a while, but has become acute in a variety of reasons, and you bringing it up now reminds me of it. I think there is a really unfortunate tendency that is exacerbated in younger, probably honestly white males towards this kind of like cruel humor, right?
Yes.
That is very like, it is funny to like make people uncomfortable, to be mean to people, to be rude to people, and to just do this thing where it's like, we're going to be assholes, and then we're going to be like, well, if you don't think it's funny, you have no sense of humor.
Right.
It's like,
Your
It's a
fault.
prank.
The
It's
onus
like-
is now on
yeah,
you.
and it's like fuck you, buddy. Like being an asshole is just being an asshole, and you can't cover it up by saying like, oh no, it was a joke. Like
Yes.
this is especially not the right time for it. I mean, that kind of joke is never that funny, but like
Exactly.
yeah, but it's a very peculiar affliction to young men mostly, and sometimes it persists for all their lives,
Yeah.
as you can witness on Twitter all the time, sadly. But like, it's just this kind of like it's like making everyone around me uncomfortable or angry is funny, and it's like, it's such a childish way to view the world.
When you're a kid and you have no ability to tell intelligent humor, and when you're a kid and you have no capacity for empathy, those two things collide and you do this shit. Yeah, you think it's funny to bully somebody, you shove somebody in the locker and that's funny. And then all of us grow out of it, except, to your point, this weird section of people, which unfortunately you notice because they're loud, who still think it's okay. It doesn't make any sense.
Is it, right? They're loud, they want to be seen, and that's the one way they found is a surefire way to do it.
To get attention.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he was making his friend laugh, which I think is probably ultimately what he wanted to do.
Right.
But
because that's what we all want to do at the end of the day.
Sure.
That's why I do this podcast, Joe.
Right. I'd laugh at you anyway.
Let's go create a public scare.
No, you're no hack. Did you put mustard and cheese on if we go back just briefly?
I did once, yeah.
Okay, I'm just going to try the cheese product.
Go for it. I've been snacking away while you guys were proselytizing over here.
What?
Proselytizing? I don't know how they pronounce it in God's country, but here in godless country, it's proselytizing.
Oh, man.
How are we doing here?
These are very good.
Yeah.
I'm trying not to chew in the mic.
I think it's a perfect beer accompaniment, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and it's the right beer because the beer is fine, but not that. It's like you guys have kind of moved through it without a whole lot of commentary, which is probably about what Grolsch deserves. So
yeah, they kind of.
But
it's as parable as it gets. I'm convinced that cheese food is bioengineered to be paired with a beer that tastes like this, and it does its job well. It wouldn't go great with something super bitter or hoppy or floral like an IPA, but malt or a malty beer or something simple like this, like Grolsch, man, this is great.
Very parable.
Salty. It's as parable as it can conceivably get. I didn't get any of that.
I did notice no mustard yet for you there, Joey.
I just didn't see the bottle.
Gotcha.
But I'm all
it was
in
hiding behind your beer bottle.
Yeah. These are big. These are substantial beer bottles. So if we want to talk a little bit about
15.2 ounces, 5% alcohol.
Oh, really? 15.2.
Is that something in some sort of Dutch measuring system?
It says 450 milliliters.
Yeah, 450 milliliters.
Also a weird, 45% of a liter.
So I'll read a little bit about the bottle. Obviously, the first thing you notice is the swing top. Bottles of this type use a flip top cap, eliminating the need for an opener. The domestic bottles over there in the Netherlands are brown, not green. So they only ship the green ones. And they have over 1/3 more the capacity than the average beer bottle that gets shipped. They can be opened by hand, blah, blah, blah. There's no label. It's just around the neck, so there's no big label. There's the little notches. And in 2007, Grolsch started using green bottles for their home market as well, so I just lied to everybody. Traditionally, before 2007, it was brown. Now they are
Edit that
green
Wikipedia
bottles
page,
everywhere.
Joe. Simplify it.
Yeah.
Well,
if you have a brown bottle of Grolsch, you probably should drink it.
Yeah, that thing is rancid.
Or maybe don't, actually. It's a collector's item.
The label being placed at the neck, they had a marketing campaign around that, introduced with the slogan, Bier mag weer gezien worden, which translates roughly as beer that's fit to be seen again.
Wow.
I can't believe that one didn't catch on.
That German literalism is always the best.
Yeah. Dutch literalism.
Or Dutch, sorry. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, well, I mean, Joey, to be fair, did it in a very German accent because I don't think he knows what someone who speaks Dutch sounds like. But
I don't.
Neither do I.
I don't want to offend anyone. If you're way off, you don't offend anyone.
We'll see about that.
Fair enough.
It was all a prank, bro.
Exactly.
All right, this parable is very parable indeed. Nom nom nom.
Also extremely generous. Thanks again.
Yeah, thank you for bringing these along, and thank you,
Caitlin.
for
You made them. I literally just transported them.
Made the delivery.
Shout out to Caitlin. If we had any merch to give her, we would, but I don't know the inventory. It's still for sale on the website, though, so God forbid if people keep buying this stuff.
I don't know if there are any T-shirts available.
Well, the last time someone ordered one, they weren't available. We had to figure out who they were to email them and order like 60 more T-shirts.
Mm-hmm.
So
don't
buy the merch on the website. We don't know how to edit the website, but don't buy it. It's not there. Oh man, very parable.
Yeah. All right, we're getting into the rankings here.
Let's get into the rankings. So this is.
I don't have a full mouth.
Canonically, a malternative, a beverage. This is not a new opportunity. Let me try to get into. I'm pulling up the rankings.
I like that you guys came up with this scheme for the post 100 episodes and have yet to actually do one of them. You're like, let's do whatever alternatives and new opportunities, and everything you've done since has just been new beers.
New beers, yeah.
Because no one wants to revisit beers.
We have some detailed plans for revisiting. I think the first one, number
That
one,
can't
with the
possibly be true.
Detailed.
we have number one.
You
is
guys
Foster's.
don't have detailed plans for literally anything.
No, we're very laissez-faire with our life.
No.
And it's a way to live.
It's for now.
What is the rules? What is our alternative rule? They
We gotta
go into a
pick a
ranking.
tier
Are the
first.
rankings fluid?
You know they're fluid. They're as fluid as the beer in that bottle.
So the top 10% of the top 1%, the top tier
Too soon.
stays locked as I know. R.I.P.
Hey, he's got life yet. Wait for that debate.
I mean,
We'll see.
literally, yes.
So maybe more than his the guy he's been running against.
Counterpart. Yeah.
Okay, no, I don't want to bash any. To vote whoever it is. All right. What did we do though? The rankings don't. The tiers don't change.
yeah,
we
it's-
replace one.
Okay, yeah. We pick a tier
Okay.
that we think it would go in, and then can it replace a beer in that tier?
Yes. Right. I have a tier.
So, well, excuse
Wow.
me. Oh, wait, I'm not a part of this. That's right. I'm just
Statute 1-25.
Yep. Of a different Zach instituted. Guests are on the sideline to take a line.
the
That's
Gatorade,
perfect because there
yeah.
are some more pretzel bites, so I'm just going to work on
There you
these.
go.
Well, can we get at least your final thoughts on Grolsch?
Sure. I mean, I think, this is like the thing we have mentioned a couple times here, and I think is totally valid, is this is a very unobjectionable beer.
Yeah.
I would not ever, if someone was like, I got you a beer, here it is, I would be like, great, it's fine.
Yeah,
it's a
thanks.
beer. It does what it needs. I need it to do. It's refreshing. It's clean. It's got, a little bit of that sort of like, there's a touch of sweetness, but not too much. It's a little bit crisp, but not, it's not going to be super refreshing. It's drinkable. And it's easy to kind of get along with, but it's never going to be a beer that if I met someone who told me this was their favorite beer, I would really wonder like what beers they've also drank.
Yeah, you must not be a beer drinker then.
Maybe you've only had
a
beers that
cultural
come
thing.
in green bottles, and that
Right.
explains it. But so it's like, to me, it's a beer that's just inherently hard to get worked up about in either way. It's not bad, so it's not like I'm not gonna be like, oh, this is garbage, and it's not great, so it's not exciting. It's just fine. And I mean, look, as you guys have probably pointed out, there's a beer for every occasion,
Yeah.
and sometimes a just fine beer that's better than the sort of mass-produced adjunct lager, but isn't necessarily going to challenge you. I mean, this comes up in wine a lot. Sometimes you just want something that you can drink without thinking about it. If you're watching, TV, or you're having a conversation with some buddies and happen to be recording it and then putting it on the internet.
Right.
Right. Taking a drive,
If
something
someone,
like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Buddies?
Taking a drive. What exactly are you
You
advocating
just gotta,
here?
you just gotta kill some time.
Can we pause on? Are we buddies?
And or people? Anyhow, so I think I have no strong feelings about this beer one way or the other. So
Yeah.
wherever you guys land on this, I probably won't feel much one way or the other.
Good.
This whole episode is leaving me very cold,
Oh no.
like a can.
Cold cans. Yeah, that's where the title comes from. And
The
it's these cans, baby.
Nick made a gesture to grab his breasts. Lewd gesture.
I've got a tier, Joe.
It's better than the we were talking about before the show. You were gonna sneak in every episode. You're sneaking in a little joke about your little what comes out of your little stub.
What do you know?
You know what I'm
Not
talking
every
about.
episode.
You do.
You even
love it.
you said you couldn't do my jokes because they're too subtle. Yours are just you say it. You just say it.
Well, that's the
You're brash.
My genius.
You're the Dennis Miller of cold cans.
I have the genius. Ooh, I should work on a Dennis Miller impression.
Uh-huh.
Babe, isn't that what
Hey,
he does?
babe. Yeah.
Hey, babe, yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah, I only have. Yeah, I was working on a Jesse thing before I came in here, but it's not ready yet. Maybe next
Okay.
week's episode. I got
Your
a whole
voice
thing
sounds
about the
pretty
corona-
gravelly on its own right now.
Uh-oh. I do a whole thing about the myth of the coronavirus. It's just the same as the flu. And if you trail this back, much like a
That
comical
might not age well.
floating odor that Bugs Bunny would lay for who is the guy? Elmer. Bugs Bunny might lay a odor for Elmer. If you trace this odor back from the coronavirus, it goes straight to Barry's penthouse. Thanks a lot. Do you see Trump today said that he blamed it on Obama?
Well,
He said they
took no
bungled the
responsibility.
swine flu. That
Yeah.
was his first thing when
Right.
they asked him if he should
It's directly
take
relevant to
responsibility.
the midst of the emergency that we're in right
Yep. Not me, but them.
now. All right, let's get back to it. Jesse's gone.
Hear
Nick,
me
what
up.
were you going to say? I have some thoughts on Grolsch that I don't think should be discounted because I agree with everything taste-wise. Everything
Should not be discounted. I have a voice, and I must use it.
Taste-wise, everything our old pal Jabal, and he did call us a buddy, so that's also canon, said I agree with. However, I can't discount the fact, that's what I was trying to say. I can't discount. Whatever. I can't, I don't want to dismiss the fact that it does such a good job for a green bottle beer, like we talked about. And the little pop top thing is a lot of fun.
It is fun.
You can have fun with your friends with the pop top thing.
And yeah, you don't need a bottle opener.
Don't need a bottle opener.
But if you're friends with Joey, he always has one.
I have one in my pocket, and I use it. When in doubt, I use a bottle opener. But they only get sold, at least in Total Wine. So if you're trying to buy this globally, they get sold in 4-packs. So you can only buy 4 at a time. So something that tastes like this, it meets the quality of something that's the Applebee's of beers. You got to sell that sucker to me in a 12-pack, baby.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't.
You're right.
What am I going to do with 4 of these?
Yeah, that's the problem with the bottle, I guess, is it feels like a special occasion type bottle, but
Right.
this is not a special occasion type beer.
Nothing special
Yeah,
inside.
that's a good point.
All right, tear me up. What were you going to say?
I'm in mild.
Tiramisu. Nah, there's nothing there. We'll edit that out. Your mild card? That's where I am too. I was
Wow.
mild card. Yeah. Wow.
It's like my corona symptoms.
So if we come on. You're like the guy behind me in Hood Famous.
That was fun, though.
Have you ever
Mild.
have either of you been to Hood Famous?
I've eaten something from there. I've never been.
Nope.
It's really fucking good. They have the best desserts.
I had a
Maybe-
cheesecake. I had a Vietnamese iced coffee cheesecake.
That thing is real. All their cheesecakes are really
very good. Very
they have
good.
the purple one. I can't remember what it is off the top of my head, which is fantastic.
Oh, yeah. What is the purple thing that...
Ube, maybe?
Yes.
Ube. It's ube. Yeah. It's right across from
All right.
Mama
Asian,
say, Mama
Asian
son.
cuisine correspondent, Zach Jabal.
All right.
Ube. Correct.
I want to point out that I had to slide my mic
This
back
is
over in
fun
front of my
watching
face
this happen, yeah.
just to tell you guys what the salted plum cheesecake was made out of.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
I also, Zach, as he's known on this podcast, likes, you got into Twitter about like birds and crows and magpies and ravens.
Well, it was just a joke about people posting,
Accidentally, yeah.
using the hashtag Corvid19.
Right.
And because I'm a dork, I know that corvids are the genus for a species or a group of birds that include crows, magpies, rooks, jackdaws. Wait, what else? Ravens.
Of course.
I think actually, technically, maybe also blue jays.
Oh, wow.
But maybe all jays, but definitely all those other ones. I don't have Wikipedia open on my phone like the two of you because apparently none of you know anything. Which I guess, again,
We're millennials, man.
Millennial generation.
For long-time listeners and even short-time listeners, that's not a surprise.
Shouldn't be.
No, we got to keep it a consistent product.
We're here
like
for
Grolsch here.
We're here for our
We're here for a good time, not a long time.
Hashtag COVID-19.
That's right. Okay, let's rank this sucker, Joel.
I don't know if COVID-19 is a good time though. Hey, have you ever seen the movie Good Time? It's on Netflix now.
Yeah, it's Safdie Brothers.
Fantastic
It's
movie.
a great film.
Safdie-
Robert Pattinson.
Pre-Sandman Safdies. Robert
Did you see Uncut Gems?
I can stop you right now. If the question is, did you see a movie? The answer is no.
Oh, okay, you're not a movie guy.
It's just not they're very low priority for me, and I don't usually have. Well, I mean, now I guess I have time. But
Sure.
You're in Unemploymentville.
Fair.
But prior to this, especially with a kid, TV shows, yeah, some. But I can't do the thing that people do, which is watch movies in installments. It doesn't work for me to like watch the first third of a movie and then another 40 minutes and another 40 minutes, and I so rarely have 2+ hours where I am both able to sit down and watch something and want to do that. But that's not to say that there aren't great movies out there. They don't get watched by me.
Wow.
You just got a
There are-
back stock going now. You'll have,
What's
you
your
can-
favorite movie?
Oh my god, my favorite movie. You might have to edit out some pause here because I have to think about that. It's one of those questions like since I stopped dating years ago, it's like one of those kinds of questions that no one ever asks me anymore. Like, what's your favorite movie?
What's your favorite color?
Well, this is Cold Kansas speed dating, actually.
Exactly.
Disguised as a beer review
Excellent.
podcast.
And you're both
Speed
available.
dating meaning a 50-minute
Yeah.
episode.
really fast. Well, it's because you're millennials.
That's right.
I think probably if I had to say my favorite movie, I've always really loved Children of Men. I think that's
hell
a
yeah.
really great movie. it's depressing as fuck, but it's a really, really like it's a great movie. The concept is really interesting. It's really well shot. I will say I was weirdly thinking about this the other day because of everything that's going on. But I think that one thing that I find fascinating are movies where, and books too, and things like that, where something terrible is happening, but it's also on a weird time scale. So like I haven't rewatched it since it came out, but like I prefer Deep Impact to Armageddon because there's something about the sociology of like, you know, because well, whatever, not that anyone really cares, but like those movies came out at about the same time in the 90s, and both were about asteroids hitting Earth, and one had Ben Affleck and Bruce Willis and an Aerosmith song, and everyone remembers it. Right. And Deep Impact had Morgan Freeman, which you would think would make a big difference, but basically one of the big differences is like Deep Impact, everyone knows like a year in advance that this asteroid is going to hit Earth, and they don't go into this in the movie, but I've always thought about like, what a weird fucking year that must have been. Like, what the hell did people do?
Everyone's reaction.
But it's like, you can't quite stop like worrying about sort of everyday shit for a whole year maybe. But you also are not going to be like, okay, let's invest in that 401k. Like, I just feel like that must have been that would have been like, I would have much rather
of the economic stimulus that would be.
Guess.
No one's saving.
I would have just liked to have seen a movie about that year and like, what the fuck did people do?
Yeah.
And another movie that I loved, which unfortunately has a really terrible ending, but a movie called Sunshine, which is a Danny Boyle film who did like 28 Days Later. And basically like the sun starts getting weaker, and like the movie is all about this sort of effort to like send a ship to the sun to blow it up and start. I mean, whatever. It's
hell yeah,
science nonsense, and the movie is great for other reasons. But like again, I think about these kinds of things where there's like a very gradual like catastrophe, like we might be living through right now, and I think about like what I find fascinating is like, how do people function in a day-to-day world? And Children of Men has a lot of that because it's a sort of like, it's even weirder there because it's not like, you know, everyone who's alive is not really affected. It's just there are no more children, but it totally fucks with society anyhow, because when you take away the sort of idea that there's going to be anything left after we die, people start behaving really weirdly. And so I've always found that sort of idea fascinating, even though the movie, again, doesn't go super deep into that. I like to think about it. So anyhow, that was a really long answer to your question.
If you like that premise, you may like Joseph Glock's first novel, or novella, I guess. Type 88 is about...
Type 88?
Wait,
similar...
you have written... What?
Yeah.
Have you not checked out his Amazon author page?
I will be completely honest. I have never checked out anything of Joey's attached to the internet besides this podcast.
Oh, hey. Don't Google me.
Yeah, he's got a lot.
I'm more worried about what I might find if I look on certain other websites.
The premise of Type 88 was there's a mysterious warning that we hear, and we don't know if it's true or not. And they basically say there's nothing you can do about it. In a few months, the world is gonna end. So how would people react to that?
No.
Most people would dismiss it. Some people would actually take it seriously. Really, really good book.
It is. It's a good story.
Well, that's very
check it
kind
out.
of you to say.
It's on Amazon,
early
right?
on in the writing.
Still on
career.
Amazon.
It's still on Amazon, yes.
Cool.
All
All right,
right.
let's rank this thing.
Let's get to rank eggs. My favorite
What is
movie
your
is The
book?
Truman Show.
What is your book ranked? Oh yeah, Truman Show.
Low. Truman Show or Ex Machina.
Cool.
Okay.
Wait,
what's your favorite?
Yeah, I was gonna
movie?
say you can't escape this question.
Oh man, I don't like this. It changes all. Or, like I don't
Current
have
favorite.
a like a big one that I love.
What jumps into your mind as soon as you thought of it?
An impactful one early on in my life was Remember the Titans. That was just a fun,
Of course.
Growing up, and football was like a huge part of my life. Remember the Titans was a lot of fun.
Now it's A Star Is Born.
Lately, now I've watched on every flight I've taken. And with these flight prices now, I am going to be watching A Star Is Born every day.
You've seen it in
as
every
I
language.
gallivant
It might
across
actually
the world.
be cheaper these days to not rent an apartment, but just to be on a plane at all times.
Yeah, it might be at the end of
Free
the day.
entertainment as well.
Yeah.
With Delta
No
Studio.
utilities.
Free food,
Costs.
probably drinks. Like, hey, you know.
Well, I'm in first class, of course.
Yeah.
Wow.
Uh,
Give me a fucking answer.
a good movie recently. Lighthouse was my favorite movie this past year.
Ooh,
I'll
over
stick with that one.
1917.
Yeah.
Okay. I haven't seen it yet. I wish I haven't been depressed enough or drunk enough to see it.
Yeah, it's an experience, but it's fun in the theater.
Well, maybe after we finish with this podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right,
All
I
right,
got
let's
a spot.
rank it. Okay, me too.
We're in mild cards, right?
3.
So hold on.
2.
We can also elect
You
to
have
not.
3 seconds to answer.
We also can elect to not put it in, right?
Right. I want to put it in.
I want to put it into.
3, 2, 1.
47.
53. Oh.
Wow.
Wow.
So I have the beers in between, and I will read this taint to tip. So this is 53 to 47. It's Corona Extra.
I have to get going soon, but I have some thoughts on this.
Wow. Corona Extra, Blatz, Coors, Busch, Blue Moon, and Hoegaarden.
Uh-huh.
What are your thoughts? Then we'll let you fucking go.
Well,
He's got that date you talked about.
I knew it.
I got a hot date. What if instead of the alternative simply kicking off the lowest beer in any given tier, it can also just pinpoint one beer within that tier and
Rip and
replace
replace?
it. Rip and replace.
We haven't discussed
Impeach
about
and replace,
this.
whatever it was.
Impeach and replace.
What did they say all the time?
That we're gonna repeal and replace.
Oh, repeal and replace is the Obamacare thing. But
Yeah,
there
to
was
come back to
something
the
about
beginning of this podcast.
Yeah, wow, full circle. How do we do
7
it?
days ago.
God, we're
I've
smart.
still been advocating. I've been advocating since 1986 for the 1%.
It's a good thing we still have some pretzel bites left because starvation is a real threat.
It is. So yeah,
You've said
what
your
if
piece.
What if we just pinpoint it?
Which
and then
one do you want to pinpoint?
Soul.
Wow.
I want it gone.
You don't got soul. I got soul.
Yes.
But I'm not a soldier.
Yes.
I got
That's
nothing
a killer
there.
line.
I was trying to workshop it.
Got him.
Thank you. All right, fine. I'm fine with just this, but we need to
Because otherwise
to
it would be kicking off
document
Sierra
this.
Nevada Torpedo Extra IPA. Which I'll
But
also
we can always
fine
do a
with.
new opportunity for Sierra Nevada Torpedo Extra IPA. And put
That's
it
true.
Back
Because
in the
it's in the
rankings.
graveyard.
Because it's in the Devil's Walk-in Cooler in Hell.
Mm-hmm. That's what that is. Yeah, that's what we've titled it.
Fine. Let's rip out Soul. Let's put this here at 53. I
Yeah?
don't fucking care.
Why not?
Yeah, let's do it.
It's time to go.
Life's meaningless.
Jabal, or Zach as we now call you because we've canonically established ourselves as buddies, thank you for showing up, and thank you so much for the pretzel
Yes,
bites.
this was fun. Caitlin,
shout out.
Yeah, she's really your friend. I'm just the bearer of
Proxy.
tasty treats.
Yeah.
we're all from Wisconsin, and that makes us family. I'm
God's
trying to load
country.
the music. I'm sorry.
Oh, God.
It's not loading.
You had to get out of here. I got to get the fuck out of here. And then you can't load the music. We did a nice send-off. I said God's country. That would have been a nice bow on
It would have.
episode. And now where we are.
Well, just
you
keep,
have
just
to bow
keep
it.
saying God's country, and he'll have to edit it.
God's
Yes.
country.
It's not being edited.
It never is.